Hi there, it's Nicole for Honeybee Stamps, and today I am sharing this hexagon layered die cut background card with you that looks really intricate and very time consuming almost, but is so easy to create with the amazing base, middle, and top hexagon plates. These die cut plates make creating layered backgrounds so amazing. So I did my die cutting off screen to save a little bit of time. A good die cutting machine is going to make all of the difference here. It really is kind of personal preference. For me, if I am using a manual die cutting machine, I use the Spellbinders Platinum. If I'm using an electronic die cutting machine, I am using the Gemini, which is going to make die cutting these kind of intricate dies so easy. That's what I've had good luck with. I know other people might use other machines, and that is great as well. I want a few little accents for my card just to kind of maybe make it a little bit more feminine. You could definitely leave these off if you wanted a more masculine type of card. I stamped a couple of images, and I'm going to come back and stamp one additional one. After I stamped and colored these, I felt like I needed one more. These are from the Zen Floral stamp set, which has lots of great floral and leaf images. I wanted my images to coordinate but not match exactly. The green, I definitely pulled the green from what I'm going to have for the background of my card. But then I'm going to use some markers that I like to use for purple color. And even though there's not really purple in this card, the dark blue cardstock is dark enough that I think this really plays off of that nicely and contrasts enough that it shows up against a kind of busy background. So the colors I'm using for my flowers here are B60, 63, 66, and 69. This is one of my favorite color combinations for purple, even though these are more in the blue color family. I tend to be drawn to these particular shades when I want to have something kind of in a purple color. And I'm going to go over these a few times. It took me a little bit to get the intensity and color exactly the way I want. B60 has a lot of colorless blender in it. So when you're blending with it, be careful that you don't oversaturate the paper because the color will bleed outside the line. That's my only little words of caution there, but I love this color combination. For the leaves, I used YG21 and 17, kind of a standard as far as coloring leaves go. This is one of my favorite color combinations, and it definitely complements the green I'm going to use for the background. I didn't want to use anything that didn't go. With these particular greens, I thought it would really kind of look funny, so I tried to pick some markers that would match my background. Now I die cut those two that I just colored with the coordinating Zen Floral dies, but I really thought I needed just a little something, and so this is where I'm going to stamp just a teeny tiny little image that has a couple of tiny flowers and some leaves, color this in, and it's going to be layered over the larger leaf image on the left side of the thanks greeting. So we'll color this in and die cut that, and then go ahead and start putting everything together. One of the things I like the most about these hexagon plates, die cut plates for the background, is they are not quite A2 sized. They are slightly smaller, which means when you layer them together and place them on your card, you're going to end up with a thin border all the way around, depending on what color of card base you're going to use. Probably 99% of the time I use a white card base, and this is going to pick up the white from my card really nicely and kind of pulls it all together. From white cardstock and that dark blue cardstock, I used the large thanks dies from Honeybee to die cut not only the greeting but the shadow. And then I have got my layers. So I wanted to go through these really quick. I've got the base layer. Here's the middle layer. That's what that looks like. And then the top layer. Now, I went ahead and used them really traditionally. You could flip them around and they won't line up exactly, but they'll create some other interesting patterns as well. These are just really, really fun. I love them. I think it would also be really cool to adorn all of the little openings, maybe with Nouveau crystal drops or little small accents, or maybe not even all of them, just a few of them. I think that would be fun as well. This is going to create a really nice, sturdy card base with all these layers. I'm using a little Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to glue them together. I found that that's pretty much going to be the easiest, I think, is a liquid glue of some sort. I like to use a fine tip applicator on my glue, and I'm being pretty generous because I want this to lay nice and flat. I don't want to have any of the little areas pop up. And then once I have them glued and I layer each of these together and line them up, I'm going to put something heavy on top, like an acrylic block that I'm using here, to hold this nice and flat while the glue dries. And the glue is going to dry really quickly, but this is really going to help as far as keeping it nice and flat so nothing curls up while it's drying. I'm going to do the same thing now. Once I have those 3 layers together, the hexagon layers, I trimmed a piece of green cardstock slightly smaller than this, but still where it's going to fit behind, and I'm going to glue those to that, put my acrylic block on top again, hold this nice and flat, and that is going to secure my background, and that created the background. So imagine creating this with lots of different color combinations. You could create a whole set of thank you cards to give as a gift. So I've got my white outline thanks that I'm going to glue down, and before that's all the way dry, I want to tuck anything that's going to go back behind. So the florals on either side, we want to tuck those there first, and then I'm going to draw that thin line of glue on the back of the word thanks and pop that in place right over the shadow outline. The outline is really critical here. I think it makes this pop off of the background so it's really easy to read and really nice and bold. Again, my acrylic block is my best friend when doing a lot of gluing like this, so I'm going to put that on top and set that aside for just a second. Now, out of a scrap of that same green cardstock I used for the background, back behind my hexagon layers, I'm going to use a powder tool on this and then stamp a greeting from the Honeybee Thanks and Giving stamp set. Using Versamark ink, the greeting reads from the bottom of my heart, so my greeting is going to read thanks from the bottom of my heart. I'll sprinkle on a little white embossing powder and then heat set this. I do a lot of stamped greetings on black cardstock, but I did not think that black would go very well with this particular card design. I didn't really want to use white. I thought that might be a little bland, so I decided to pull the green from the background, and the white embossing looks amazing on this as well. I think it coordinates and complements the design much better than a black or white cardstock strip would. I'm going to put a little line of adhesive here. I used score tape. It did not stick that well because the background has got so much texture. It really worked better to use a little liquid adhesive. So once I have everything kind of put together, I'm going to glue my additional little flowers over here onto the left. I did go back and put some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium underneath this greeting strip and let that dry overnight, and that worked so much better. I am going to go ahead and adhere this to my white side fold card base. This is going to show you what I was talking about earlier, that it has a nice thin white border all the way around. I'm using a Teflon bone folder to make sure I have a nice scored card there. And this, you can see the greeting strip is not sticking, especially over here on the right side. So I'm just going to put a little line of glue here, hold that down. I actually just put an acrylic block on that and let it sit for a few minutes, and it was nice and secure. The final thing I'm going to do for my card, I love the cardstock greeting as it is, but in order to really make it pop, one of my favorite techniques is applying either glossy accents or Nouveau Crystal Glaze, which is what I'm using here today, over die cut greetings, because it gives them that raised dimensional glossy finish once it's all dry, and I think it really makes die cut greetings stand out. A fine tip applicator is going to help so much with this, but this instantly gives the greeting the look of an epoxy sticker, I think, which I really love. So I'll let that sit and dry completely overnight. You can see the fine tip applicator really helps with some of those small areas. I'm just carefully drawing this all the way across. I did flip it upside down to work on it. I don't really know why, but I found that this worked the best for me. And that is going to finish up this hexagon layered die cut background card. Thanks for joining me today for this card featuring honeybee stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring honeybee stamps that you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.